Welcome back to another English online session. Today we are going to look into the sixth chapter in the textbook Beehive. The name of the chapter is My Childhood. This chapter gives us a brief idea about our former president, beloved President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He is not only the president, he was a scientist, poet, and a role model to many students. He always likes to interact with the students. Let's see his life. This part is taken from the book The Wings of Fire, especially the childhood days of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. I was born into a middle class Tamil family in the island town of Rameswaram in the Eastvale, Madras state. Eastvale means former. So Tamil Nadu is formerly it was known as Madras. So this particular island Rameswaram is a part of that state. So he was born in that particular place. My father, Jainul Abidin, had neither much formal education nor much wealth. So his father was not very much educated and he wasn't a wealthy man. Despite these disadvantages, he possessed great innate wisdom and a true generosity of spirit. So, keeping these disadvantages away, he is a generous person and he got innate wisdom. Innate here, inborn. Okay, that kind of a person is his father. He had an ideal helpmate in my mother, Ashiam. His mother also almost similar to his father, very generous, and she also a person with a lot of wisdom. I do not recall the exact number of people she fed every day, but I am quite certain that far more outsiders ate with us than all the members of our family put together. So many of them, she just served food to many of them. Many people from outside of their family daily, they just provide food to them. I was one of many children, a short boy with rather undistinguished looks. Undistinguished means ordinary or common. Not very handsome, not very tall or fair. He wasn't like that. He is an ordinary child. Born to tall and handsome parents. His parents were very handsome, tall and very handsome. We lived in our ancestral house, so it is just transferred from generation to generation, which was built in the middle of the 19th century. It was a fairly large Pakka house made of limestone and brick on the Mosque Street in Rameswaram. My Astor father used to avoid all inessential comforts and luxuries. So this house is made of limestone and it is on the street of this mosque in Rameswaram. And now he was talking about his father. He was an Astor. Astor here symbol strict and severe. He never just spent money for luxurious things, unnecessary or inessential needs. He never spent. In such cases, he was very strict. However, all necessities were provided for in terms of food, medicine, and clothes. So, in terms of medicine, food, clothes, everything, their needs were fulfilled. But unnecessary expenditures were not entertained by his father. In fact, I would say mine was a very secure childhood, both materially and emotionally. So he personally feel that his childhood was very secure one. Materially here, in terms of things like clothes, medicine, there is no shortage of such things. His father is ready to buy food, medicine, clothes, everything. So in that way he was secure. And also emotionally in terms of love and affection, his parents loved and shown their affection uh, generously. The Second World War broke out in 1939 when I was 8 years old. For reasons I have never been able to understand, a sudden demand for tamarind seeds erupted in market. So this tamarind seeds, the Second World War broke out, and suddenly there was a need of demand for this tamarind seeds in the market. He was saying that he didn't know exactly how it happened. I used to collect the seeds and sell them to a provision shop on Mosque Street. A day's collection would fetch me the princely sum of 1 anna. Here he is ironically saying that 1 anna here, an Indian old coin worth 6 paise. It was said as princely sum, like some very huge amount, but ironically he was saying would get 1 anna. My brother-in-law Jalaluddin would tell me stories about the war which I would later attempt to trace in the headlines in Dinamani. So his brother-in-law Jalaluddin tell him whatever he knew about the ongoing war, Second World War, and also he collect details from the newspaper Dinamani. Our area, being isolated, was completely unaffected by the war, but soon India was forced to join Allied forces and something like a state of emergency was declared. So initially their area wasn't affected by, or much effect was there in their area because of this war. But after some time, India was forced to join with the USA, UK, Russia, such allies, such countries to the fight in the Second World War. So at that time, emergency was declared. So then onwards, there are some problems they have faced. The first casualty here loss came in the form of the suspension of the train halt at the Rameswaram station. There was a halt, a stop in the Rameswaram station, the train, but that was stopped because of this effect of the war. The newspapers are now had to bundled and thrown out from the moving train on the Rameswaram road between Rameswaram and Dhanishkodi. That forced my cousin Samsudin, who distributed newspaper in Rameswaram, to look for a helping hand to catch the bundles, and as if naturally I filled the slot. So when the stop cancelled, they just throw the newspaper from the train. They have to catch it. His cousin Samsudin just distribute the newspapers in that area. So he need a helping hand to help him in this work. So automatically Abdul Kalam just fill the slot here, fit into that place. So he also accompany his cousin to do that job. Samsudin helped me earn my first wages. Half a century later, I can still feel the surge of pride in earning my own money for the first time. So, for that, collecting newspapers, catching newspapers, and helping him, Samsudin just gave a certain amount to him. So, Abdul Kalam still saying after 50 years, still he was just feeling very proud of the first amount he earned. Every child is born with some inherited characteristics into a specific socio-economic and emotional environment and trained in certain ways by figures of authority. I inherited honesty and self-discipline from my father. From my mother, I inherited faith in goodness and deep kindness, and so did my three brothers and sister. So here, every social setup. a newborn baby just learn or inherit certain qualities, characteristics from their parents or the people around them. Here, Abdul Kalam just learned or inherited honesty and self discipline from his father, and kindness and goodness from his mother. His brothers and sister also did the same, or they also had the same. I had three close friends in my childhood: Ramanatha Shastri, Aravindan, and Shiva Prakashan. Now he was talking about his very close friends like Ramanatha Shastri, Aravindan, and Shiva Prakashan. All these boys were from Orthodox Hindu Brahmin families. Orthodox means they just follow the religious conventions very strictly, all the principles of religion very strictly. So they are from very Orthodox Hindu families. He is a Muslim boy. As children, none of us ever felt any difference amongst ourselves because of our religious differences and upbringing. So as children, they never felt any difference. Okay, they are from different community. Like they never felt such a difference in them. They were very close friends. In fact, Ramanatha Shastri was the son of Pakshi Lakshmana Shastri, the high priest of Rameswaram temple. Later, he took over the priesthood of Rameswaram temple from his father. So this Ramanatha Shastri, he was the son of high priest in Rameswaram temple. So still they were very close friends. This Ramanatha Shastri became the high priest of Rameswaram temple after his father. Aravindan went into business of arranging transport for visiting pilgrims, and Shivaprakasan became catering contractor for the Southern Railways. So now they have settled in different places. Like Aravindan just started tourist operating like for pilgrims, all these people, and this Shivaprakasan became a catering contractor in Southern Railways. During the annual Sri Sita Rama Kalyana ceremony, our family used to arrange boats with a special platform for carrying idols of the Lord from the temple to the marriage site, situated in the middle of the pond called Rama Tirtha, which was near our house. Events from the Ramayana and from the life of the prophet were the bedtime stories my mother and grandmother would tell the children in our family. So here he was just giving some hints about how these different religion from people from different community lived together in a harmony without any differences. So his mother or grandmother just tell him bedtime stories from Ramayana plus the stories of Prophet Muhammad. And particularly he was talking about a custom there, the Sita Rama Kalyana, that custom, that ritual. They just these people just arrange boat for such ritual, and this happened just very near to his house. So these all hints shows that they just lived and kept the brotherhood without any differences. One day, when I was in the fifth standard at the Rameswaram Elementary School, a new teacher came to our class. I used to wear a cap which marked me as a Muslim. I always sat in the front row next to Ramanatha Shastri. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, he just used to sit with this close friend Ramanatha Shastri in the front row. He can be easily identified with his cap that he is a Muslim boy. He was narrating a particular incident happened when he was in the fifth standard. The new teacher could not stomach a Hindu priest's son sitting with a Muslim boy in accordance with our social ranking. As the new teacher saw it, I was asked to go and sit on the back bench. So Ramanatha Shastri belongs to a Brahmin family, and he was the son of high priest in the Rameswaram temple. So the new teacher did not understand their religious harmony or their friendship. He asked Abdul Kalam, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, to sit at the back bench. He told Abdul Kalam, "You shouldn't sit with this Ramanatha Shastri." I felt very bad, and so did Ramanatha Shastri. He looked utterly downcast as I shifted to my seat in the last row. The image of him weeping when I shifted to the last row left a lasting impression on me. So both children, they couldn't accept that. They became disappointed, sad, depressed. Downcast means sad or depressed. Abdul Kalam cried as well as Ramanatha Shastri. He was weeping, he was crying. And he still remembering that. This shows that these children never see these differences. This teacher unknowingly just trying to do all these things. After school, we went home and told our respective parents about the incident. Lakshmana Shastri summoned the teacher and, in our presence, told the teacher that he should not spread the poison of social inequality and communal intolerance in the minds of innocent children. Look at that, how nicely Lakshmana Shastri dealt this problem. He just called the teacher. Summoned means called the teacher and told him very clearly this here in Rameshwaram, people were very closely helping each other. They are living in brotherhood. Don't inject poison in their mind. Okay, this social inequality, all those things. Don't teach such things to the children. Very strictly, he warned this to the new teacher. He bluntly asked the teacher to either apologize or quit the school and the island. So bluntly here, speaking in direct and honest way, he just said it directly that you can either apologize to these children or you can leave the island and the school. Not only did the teacher regret his behavior, but the strong sense of conviction Lakshmana Shastri conveyed ultimately reformed this young teacher. So this teacher changed. He understood his behavior and he just changed because of the advice or the message conveyed by this Lakshmana Shastri. On the whole, the small society of Rameshwaram was very rigid in terms of segregation of different social groups. However, my science teacher Shiva Subramanya Iyer, though an Orthodox Brahmin with a very conservative wife, was something of a rebel. So they are just very strict in their religion. They follow very strictly, but they kept the social harmony in the society. Now he was particularly mentioning about his science teacher Shiva Subramanian. He was a rebel, even though he was an orthodox. Orthodox, I already told you, one who just followed the religion very strictly from a Brahmin family, and his wife was a conservative person. Conservative means very traditional, following everything traditionally. But he was a rebel here oppose the he just always oppose the social evils or superstitious beliefs. Such a person is his science teacher. He did his best to break the social barriers so that people from varying backgrounds could mingle easily. He used to spend hours with me and would say, Kalam, I want you to develop so that you are on par with the highly educated people of the big cities. So he tried his level best to break the social barriers and mingle all the communities, mingle without any hesitations. And also he had foreseen a good future to Kalam on par here at the same level like the students in the cities. Likewise, you have to reach such a level. He always encouraged Abdul Kalam. One day he invited me to his home for a meal. His wife was horrified at the idea of a Muslim boy being invited to dine in her ritually pure kitchen. She refused to serve me in her kitchen. Shiva Subramanya Iyer was not perturbed, nor did he get angry with his wife, but instead served me with his own hands and sat down beside me to eat his meal. So he was narrating another incident that this particular teacher invited him to his house to serve some food, but his wife could not accept it. So ritually pure means kept protected from all outside influence. So they never allow the outsiders in the kitchen. But he was invited. He was a Muslim boy. He was invited. This teacher's wife could not accept that, but this teacher didn't become upset because of that behavior. He just initiated the serving. He just invited Abdul Kalam in his kitchen and served the food. His wife watched us from behind the kitchen door. I wondered whether she had observed any difference way I ate rice, drank water, or cleaned the floor after the meal. So this lady was observing how they are eating all those food. He was a little bit nervous, Abdul Kalam, and he was thinking, did I make any difference eating, drinking, or cleaning the place? He was just thinking all those things and eating. When I was leaving his house, Shiva Subramanya Iyer invited me to join him for dinner again the next weekend. Observing my hesitation, he told me not to get upset, saying, once you decide to change the system, such problems have to be confronted. When I visited his house the next week, Shiva Subramanya Iyer's wife took me inside her kitchen and served me food with her own hands. So when he decided to leave the house, Shiva Subramaniam again invited him for the dinner. Abdul Kalam was hesitant. He was a little bit doubt or delaying to say his decision whether he come or not. He understood, Shiva Subramaniam, he understood that and said, we have decided to change the social system or the existing problems, so we shouldn't hesitate. uh, we should do as we decided. And the next weekend he just went there, and his wife herself served him food. So that kind of a change this man made in the mind of that lady. She was not aware of these things. She was very conservative in religious way. So because of these events, a big realization happened in her. Then the Second World War was over and India's freedom was imminent. Indians will build their own India, declared Gandhiji. The whole country was filled with an unprecedented optimism. I asked my father for permission to leave Rameshwaram and study at the district headquarters in Ramanathapuram. So after the Second World War, India was declared as a free country. Imminent here, about to happen. And Gandhiji just proclaimed Indians will build their own India. And the whole country had seen some unprecedented celebrations they have never been or did. And a kind of optimism. Optimism means hope, cheer, a new, a fresh start. So by the time Abdul Kalam just completed his schooling and he had to pursue his higher education, so he was just asking permission from his father to just go to Ramanathapuram to continue his education, higher education. He told me as if thinking aloud, Abdul, I know you have to go away to grow. Does the seagull not fly across the sun alone and without a nest? He quoted Khalil Gibran to my hesitant mother. Your children are not your children, they are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. So his father was such a person. He is ready to send Abdul Kalam. He knew that once he just go out of this small town or a village and go to another place, only he just get more exposure. And even he just quoted the lines from Khalil Gibran's poem, and particularly the line he quoted that your children are not your children. He was saying that we should have a limit control on our children. They are the sons and daughters of their own life, so we should let them to pursue whatever they like. They come through you, but not from you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. So you just gave birth. You can provide love, you can protect them, but you shouldn't share your thoughts, or your lifestyle should not imposed upon them. So this is the beautiful description about the childhood of the Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Hope you understood. Now read the text thoroughly. See you with another lesson in the next class. Till then, take care. Bye.